Hey, my name is Josh.
And I'm Josh.
And this is The Joshes. Today we're going to talk to you about auditioning for weight loss reality TV shows. Are you excited?
I'm super excited.
You better be excited, because, who else am I going to do this show with? There's only one other Josh I want to work with, and it's you.
Oh, man.
It's
right? A lot of pressure. It's a lot of Josh pressure.
So to get started, first of all, Josh and I are both on a weight loss crusade to drop a certain amount of weight, and in doing so, there was a time in our lives where we were talked to by certain TV shows, TV companies, casting companies, that kind of stuff, to be on TV. Now, the one thing we're going to do here is we're not going to tell you specifically what the name or the network the TV show appears on. And we're definitely not going to talk about the name, but there will be subtle hints, right?
Bum, bum, bum.
Shh, no, that's copyright.
Oh, okay.
Get sued so damn bad. It's okay. This is going to be a clean podcast. Well, anyway, so we're going to start you off in how we met. Josh, do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to do it?
We can do a little bit of both. What I was thinking is maybe we could talk about how we got to the point that we were at there.
Okay. You go ahead and you start.
Okay, well, for me, it was my first casting experience. I actually got forced to go there, as forcefully as my sister could make me go. I'm very afraid of her. And I had never watched any of the weight loss shows, regardless of name. And I was shown a couple episodes of one, and they were going to be casting in Chicago. And that weekend, I ended up going up there. I had no idea what I was doing. Kind of got thrown into it, and ended up seeing you at the same table as me.
And that's really weird, because I don't really believe in coincidences. After everything that I've been through, I don't believe in coincidences,
Oh, yeah.
So I believe that we were supposed to meet.
It was kismet.
Dude, don't ever use that word when you're referring to another dude. That's not appropriate.
Are we supposed to wait until episode 4 for that one?
Yeah, the romantic gooey stuff waits until episode 4.
Oh, okay.
So I had gotten there because a mutual friend of ours had invited me out. And at the time, she didn't know you, but, she knew me. And she's like, hey, you need to come out and try out for this show. And this was the second time I'd auditioned for that show. And it was insane. Like, with one show, this is where it gets a little confusing. With the show that's had multiple seasons, we'll say that.
That works for me, I guess.
With the show that has multiple seasons on a network with 3 letters and a certain special tune that everybody knows, don't do it. I don't want to get sued. Don't do it. They have an ungodly amount of people turn out every single time. I think the least number I've seen was when I was in Cincinnati for the audition, and they had maybe 500 people show up. And that's still a lot.
When we went to Detroit, they had lines down the block and around the way.
I know. Aren't you glad we got those front of the line passes?
Yes, very.
Another thing was that for a TV show who had been on for at least one season, we were in and out of the audition process in maybe 25 minutes?
Yeah, it was real quick.
I mean, it was one of those things where you are used to waiting hours and hours and hours to get a 5-second shot to something that you have 3% of even hitting. I mean, if we're being honest about it,
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about this, being my first time, I had no idea what it was going to be like. And because you had tried out for the other show, I think you kind of knew. But I walked in, I'm like, man, there aren't that many people here. I figured it was going to be huge.
Yeah, well, the last time I auditioned, I didn't even go through that process. I didn't even actually have to show up. I ended up meeting one of the casting directors for a callback that I didn't even set up. And they're like, hey, can you just come out for a callback? The mutual friend that you and I both know had suggested that. So that's how I got started with that. And then I go back for the second season, and there's nobody there. And did we even do a third season? Did we go back a third time?
For that one?
I think we did.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, that was the day that we had the bus debacle.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's when we met the other Jess. That's when we met Jess. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that. And so first thing we're going to talk about is the audition process as a whole. So, Josh, of all the shows you've been to, how many different audition processes have you been through?
Are we counting Skype interviews that I had to wait for?
Yes.
It's probably either 6 or 7. That's hard to keep count.
Right. Okay, so you and I have been to at least 2 together. So that's 2. 3 for the one for the year before. And then 4. So right now I'm looking at about 7. And then 1 Skype interview. So that's 8. Holy crap.
Because I think we went to 3 together. 2 for the one show and 1 for the bigger show.
Right. Okay. The one with the more seasons. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Because that's where Detroit was.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's starting to come back.
It's all coming back.
And
it's like therapy.
So what they do is when you first get there, they have you fill out a piece of paper, and then they say, okay, go to the back of the line. And you do. And then you wait and wait and wait. So you're brought into a room with you and how many other people, like 20?
It depends. Like, for the smaller show, I think there was only about, like, 15 of us. For the other one, there's multiple tables and, like, 40 people.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, so that's the one thing, is that they will bring at least, for the bigger show, they will bring at least 50 people in at once.
Yeah.
And then they'll do multiple tables of 10 or multiple tables of 15, and then the stragglers get, distributed wherever the hell they're so, they so choose. And the process, I mean, it took me at least auditioning 3 times before I even got noticed by the bigger show. You, Josh, you at least had the help of some people.
Yeah. Which I just met that day, too, which is weird.
Right. Right, isn't that weird? That stuff, that's really weird. There's an interesting mindset when you're going into these shows, and we're going to talk about this here because it's very important that it gets addressed. You will see people on the Facebook page for the TV show, and Josh, back me up here, okay?
Oh yeah.
So you will see people on the Facebook page for that specific TV show, and they'll say, "This is my last option. This is it. I'm done after this."
And it's sad.
Dude, I could rant for days.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for freaking days I could go on. These people, number one, they're not going to get picked with that kind of attitude.
Oh yeah.
You will not even make it with that kind of attitude.
They need to see that you're going to be able to do it. That you have the mental wherewithal.
Exactly. That's why they pick people who have lost a lot of weight. That's why they pick people who are strong of will, who can be pushed. But on that same token, they also want someone who can play to the hand of the drama.
Oh yeah, they definitely need a story. You need a story, and you almost kind of need to be past the point. Like, they don't want the people that are giving up and all that. They want the people that are past that point, that are starting to fight back after your lowest of lows.
Right, yeah, after you've hit rock bottom, the only way is up. And that's what they're looking for. I remember, and this kind of makes me sound like an asshole, but I remember I got beat out by a guy who his house was broken into. It was something akin to, it was really bad. But that's a story they can use. And my story wasn't as sad, I'm sorry. Like, I could lie, but I don't feel like doing that.
And that's the thing, because we can get into this more, but there's a couple different types of people that try out for these shows, and I think we can get into that. But one of them is definitely the theater major who plays up. They're like, they have maybe a little nugget of a story or a little bit of sadness in their life, but it is the worst thing to ever happen to anyone ever, and they kind of try to over-dramatize over people who actually have some really sad stories and need help.
Yeah. Another one of my favorites is the one who will tell their story and then accentuate an illness.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was something simple as, one time I caught the flu, there was one where he caught the mumps. And I'm like, what? Dude, that disease has been extinct for years. I mean, thanks to non-vaxxers. Thanks to non-vaxxers, it's coming back, but that's another story.
As they go through the line, people tell their stories. As we're getting to, when you get to these tables, people go through and kind of go through their personal stories here. They get asked, how they ended up here. Mm-hmm. But there's the one person, normally in every table I think I've had, I don't know if you've had the same experience, who maybe they were in the beginning of the table, so like they had to answer first, or one of the first ones, and then as the stories get sadder or worse, like they have to jump back in and like add to their story. Like,
I remember
mine
that.
wasn't good enough. Let me throw a little more out here. Yeah, my dog got killed too, and
yeah, I remember that. Another one of my favorites is the person that thinks because they're the heaviest, they'll get it.
Oh yeah.
So when I auditioned the first time, it was in Indiana, and this was for the big show, the one on the certain. Never mind, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We were talking about weights, and this guy who's like 6'4", 525 pounds. He uses that as his leverage, as his opener, as his push to get brought onto this show. That's what he used, Josh. Dude, I swear to God, I'm not even joking.
That's normally the death knell for you right there.
That like you will in no way, shape, or form will you get on that show if you pull crap like that. Because if you are proud of the weight you are, they're going to be like, okay, that's fine, peace, and they're going to call it a day.
Can't wear it as a badge of honor, because then you don't want to change.
Exactly, and if you don't want to change, then you're not willing to be on TV. The sad thing is at one point I was at least, because I know there's at least 5 different people. I remember I've been at least 3 of the 5.
I've been I'm in probably 2 of the 5.
Yeah,
If I'm thinking we have the same 5.
I think so. What's
Well,
what are
because
we
my
on?
next one is going to
Number
be
3, right?
my next one is going to be my favorite. And by favorite, I mean the people that just like boil my blood. They get at me, Josh. I mean, okay, so one season I went up and it was for the smaller show. And I was like, you know what? This is like my 3rd time going out or something. I was like, I'm not going to get a front of the line pass. I'm going to go through the process again. And you know what? I feel like if I give it more effort and I really care and like I really try and like show them that I really mean it, they're going to pick me. And obviously they did, of course.
I was going to say, so how did that work out for you? Please tell me more about how you're on the TV show right now.
Yeah, exactly. A couple seasons ago. So I get there and I'm sitting at the table and I'm trying to meet people because, of course, I had met you at my first time. So,
right.
you know, I got a prize. I hope I got a prize every time. And what happened was there were a few individuals, but this one lady next to me is my favorite. She had been a former dancer of erotic nature.
Oh, my God.
She was a larger, not very large, but a little bit larger, full-bodied African-American female. And she began to ask me if said show had a monetary prize, if she was going to win money for being on the show, which that show does not. That show does not. And she's like, well, what do I get out of it? I was like, you get to live a healthy life for the rest of your now longer life.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I was like, oh, well, they do have these trips they do sometimes and like other stuff, but the real big thing is like you lose weight, you lose it to me the right way. Like, you know, there's a lot of things you benefit from it. And she was upset that there wasn't a flat rate like money prize.
Right.
And like I've seen people for the bigger show who are like, I'm only here for, you know, I forget how much they went at the end, but I'm only here for that. And I'm like, oh my God, leave, please. Right. Like, go buy a lotto ticket.
Right, yeah, just you have a better chance of winning the lottery than getting on this show with that mentality.
Yeah, but the prize winner, it boils my blood, man.
So let's review. Number 1 is the person adding to the sad story.
Adding to the sad story. Okay.
Number 2 is someone who had a mild disease that was probably extinct by vaccinations, but is now coming back.
Yes.
Number 3 is the prize pig.
Yep.
What's number 4?
I'd probably say the former athlete.
Yeah, that's right.
Because my favorite part, and I'm not going against former athletes.
Yes, you are.
Because I personally feel like if you were like a big time athlete and stuff like that, and you lost your glory days, like that's a sad story. But me myself, I'll use myself as an example. I've never been this person, but I could fit into this role. I played basketball in like the 5th grade or 6th grade, like for 1 year. And these people will be like, I was a star athlete. My elementary school was the toast of the town. And
right.
Like, these people will go crazy over some insanely small amount of time that they spent doing something that was maybe a sport that was like no part of their life. They'd be like, oh, I went to a cakewalk one time. I'm a professional baker. Like, that's the mentality. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, literally you're a former athlete, you did athletics, but you're not an athlete. Come on.
Dude, I don't even remember the last time I was at a cakewalk.
I think about them often because it has the word cake in it.
Well, like, I remember, and this is going to be a little bit of a tangent here, and this is the best part of our show. I remember when I was growing up in the Catholic school, like, they would do these fundraisers, and one of the things was you had to buy these stupid little tickets, right? You could do whatever you wanted to do with them, and for one ticket, which cost, like, 25 cents, you could do the cakewalk, and there was potential for you to win, like, a sheet cake.
I take it you won?
I feel
like we both won a cakewalk in our day.
I feel like we won a couple.
We're the type of people that people would think we would cheat at a cakewalk. Like, that's just, that's us.
Oh, dude. Oh, Fatty cheated again.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. All right. There might be actually more than 5. There might be like 6 or 7. But number 5 to me is the sob story.
Yeah.
And this is the one where I'm going to tread a little lightly, because when you lose somebody, it's very difficult, whether it was to disease, a car crash, a heart attack because they were too fat and their heart couldn't pump blood anymore, or something. It's sad. It is. But accentuating that story and using it for something like this is almost not appropriate. But it's unfortunate because that's what they're looking for. The guy who lost his father, the guy who who lost his mom to cancer.
David lost his wife to cancer. I know that was a huge story.
Yeah, and again, it's not one of those. It's one of those things where I tread very lightly when I talk about that because I know what it's like to lose somebody, and it's not very fun. It's not. And this is the only time you'll ever see me show compassion.
Well, and you should though. See, the thing is, and people make sure you get this right. He's not trashing on the people who have a legitimate story.
Right.
Like when I say David, his wife passed away, like that was a heart-wrending story, and
Right.
I wanted to meet him. He's a sweet guy. Those are the people who deserve it.
Yeah.
It's the people who, oh, my neighbor's friend died, and
Exactly.
Beyond
That's
words.
what I'm talking about. I'm not like if you lost somebody to cancer, I understand that's very difficult for you. You've been through some shit. Okay.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have. There are people who are willing to exploit the death of somebody close to them for their personal gain, and that's where I draw the line.
Well, and I want to get a little personal here for a second. Do you mind me getting a little personal here, Brother Josh?
Oh God.
Okay, so I could fit in this role. I don't. I've talked about to a very limited amount of people a couple stories I have that fit into this role, but I've never felt like they shape me enough for me to want to use these stories to try to get cast on.
Have we talked about this?
Well, I don't know. I've probably talked to you about at least one of them, but I actually had a friend named Marcos who I was going to do a pro wrestling podcast with a couple moons ago, and he was very talented, extremely creative, funny guy, did stand-up comedy, used to make YouTube videos. He's a hilarious guy. He used to write for Christwire, which is like one of those troll conservative websites, and he was just a hilarious guy. He was younger than me. He was one of the people I actually looked up to as like, this guy was a comedy genius. And when we were working on putting together a podcast and stuff like that, he ended up tragically passing away in a car accident. And I looked at somebody like that and I was like, wow, like I was literally texting him the day before, like we were setting up stuff, and like that kind of stuff affects you. It kind of makes you look at your life
Right.
and say like, man, you could be gone tomorrow. And then the next year, actually later that year, he passed away in the beginning of the year. At the end of that year, a friend of mine named Ryan, and I actually made a video about this, you may have seen it, but he was larger, and I was really into my journey at that part, and people were all about it on social media, and he ended up developing leukemia.
Wow.
And he was larger. He wasn't as big as me, but he was probably like somewhere a little smaller than you.
Yeah.
Okay. And he messaged me, and he's going through all this turmoil, all this stuff. And he's like, I see you posting on social media, I see these videos and all this stuff, and like you're really motivating me that like I can fight through what I'm going through, which touched me so much at the time.
Yeah.
Even more so now that he passed away a couple months after that, right around Thanksgiving.
Wow.
And his last tweet was like to me on Twitter, and that's it. It crushed me for quite some time, and I almost feel like trash for like not losing weight because of like him saying how it motivated him, and then
Right.
he passed away. And I've talked about this story, but I would never use that. So it makes me so much angrier, and that's why I'm glad you talked about this person. For the people who do try to exploit those stories, because
Yeah.
it's like you are tarnishing that person
Mhm.
if you don't mean it, if it
Mhm.
didn't really affect you.
Mm-hmm.
That kills me.
Dude, I totally feel you and where you're coming from. So, and I just, oh God, like, just thinking about it still pisses me off. Like, it pisses me off so much. Like, I've lost people in my life, but it's just, just like with you, I've not, I don't see any reason to use it for personal gain because it doesn't
Exactly.
shape me as a person.
And don't get us wrong, there's good people that come to these castings too. They're not all horrible people. It's just the vast majority of people go to these because they
Are
want to be on
horrible
TV,
people.
not because they want to change their lives.
Right. Yeah, no, they're definitely not all horrible people. Just like how not all olives taste horrible.
To me, all olives do taste horrible. So.
Yeah, all olives are garbage. I hate them.
Yes.
I hate olives so much. All right, so it's your turn. Who's your next favorite person to hate on?
Let's see. Well, you hit up the sob story, man, and that I'm drained now.
Did I just take the wind out of your sails?
You did. You straight up took all the wind.
My next favorite is the veteran.
Oh yeah.
Someone who's been, and I'm not talking about
Which
Army
is us.
veteran.
Well, I was like, and that's us now, really.
Right.
Realistically.
Right. I'm talking about people who have been to almost every audition for this show and still haven't made it.
Well, what's her name?
Yes.
I think it was Gina. Was 14 seasons, and then she auditioned 14 times and got on the show.
I don't understand how that happened.
I don't either, man.
Like she's a really nice person, but like, you know, by the 10th time you need to be like, okay, maybe I really need to get my ass in shape and do this on my own.
Yeah.
You know? Trying to think of what other things we can do.
Well, you would think, like, at some point, like, even us, we've decided, like, okay,
right,
we're on to this, you know, it's
right.
not working out for us, we're not going to keep putting ourselves through it. But you would think at some point, like, they got to come to that realization, like,
right.
man, I mean, okay, she went on 14, so she did get it eventually, so, I mean, you can't knock a person for keep trying, but...
The point that I reached, I just wanted to give up. I was done. I actually remember the day too, because I think it was 2012, because the audition was in Cincinnati at the Planet Fitness there.
So I think it was 2013, because 2012 was our first.
That's right. No.
That's when we...
No. 2012 was not the first. 2013 was the time we met in Chicago.
Yeah, for Pink Day.
Yes, exactly. For Pink Day. I need to find that picture. I'm going to use that for our podcast,
Awesome.
Photo.
That works for me.
And then that was the day that the bus debacle happened, which I don't want to talk
Yes.
about yet because there's a statute of limitations on that, and I don't want that to come back and bite me in the ass.
We're gonna have to post date this.
I guess it was did they audition in the spring of 2013, or maybe it was the fall of 2013 they auditioned?
I like how this all started with, I remember the date, and then you turned into Grandpa Josh, well, back in 2012, the good old winter of 2012.
Back when the steam engines were ruling everything.
I remember the exact date. It was,
I'm sorry.
that one day.
Damn it. Okay, so anyway, it was my last Cincinnati audition. I went down there with my dad. My dad was a sport, and he waited for 6 hours. We were in line. And halfway through, I stopped at Jersey Mike's and got a sub. And people were like, "Oh, can I have some?" And I'm like, "Sure," for $5 a piece. And I ended up selling my $4 sub for $20 that day.
Nice.
Yeah, there's one thing you can rely on, fat people. They'll be willing to shell out money for free food. What?
Which I want to get to that. That's my next person.
What?
But we'll continue.
Okay. So, but that's where I reached. My point was that audition, because they had told me that I had a front of the line pass for that audition, and I get there and they don't. And that was the line that I drew.
That had to feel good. You had to feel real special that day.
That was the day I realized that they did not, and you're going to have to pardon my language here, they did not give a f***. They didn't care. Period.
Well, and just a shout out for, if you haven't casted before, you may be thinking, no, front of the line pass, they must care. They give out a lot of front of the line passes.
Yeah, they do it. They do it for radio. They'll give them to radio stations and be like, here's 50 front of the line passes. Use them.
And each one of them, you can bring 3 to 5 people, depending on the season and show.
Exactly.
So, the majority of the people who show up could all have front of the line passes.
Yeah, and
that's their carrot on the stick. Oh, you're not going to come to casting anymore because it's not working out for you, or, well, come on, we'll give you a front of the line pass.
Right. Yeah, and that's how they get you to come out one more time. The time before that, I showed her my video, and she really liked it. In fact, she pulled me aside and told me that I was going to come back for callbacks, and when I did, they just didn't use me. And she made me cry. Josh, what the hell?
I've been made to cry.
I don't think I've ever seen you express emotion.
It's pretty hard.
Yeah, dude, you're a rock.
I am. I'm not the rock, but I am a rock.
No, you're the rock to me.
So the thing to me as well, and we're kind of jumping around, but that's we
have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. People need to deal.
So I'm going to jump to one thing and then jump to my next type of person. One thing I'm going to jump to is my first audition. Like I said, I walked in, it was for the smaller show. There was nobody there, and I got a call back on my first time. I did not know. Okay, everybody who has auditioned before, and Josh included, anybody who's ever been through the processes, that's the unicorn right there.
Yeah, dude.
Is getting a call back on your first shot. I was so naive. I did not know how lucky I was to get a call back. And being that naive, walking in, there's nobody there, I immediately get a call back. I'm like, oh, I'm on the show.
Right.
Oh yeah, they picked me up on the show.
I remember we had that discussion too.
Yeah, I had no idea how many more hoops you got to jump through, or all
Yep.
the emotional wango tango they put you through. But I was just blown away now, having casted so many more times, that I was that naive. And because a couple people that had helped me with getting that callback, that's going to take me into my next person, which is actually two separate type of people, but it's one category: the former contestant.
Ooh, I like this. Go for it.
There's two types of former contestant. Your first type of former contestant, I'm so happy they're there because maybe they've kept the weight off, maybe they've gained a little back, but they're really positive about the show. They're really positive about the changes it can make,
Yep.
depending on whatever show it is. And they're there for you. They're like genuinely want to be there because they want to help. Those are the good people. I like those people. There's another type of people.
Oh, this is gonna be awesome. Go.
The former contestant who wants to sell a book or try my new workout plan.
Yeah.
Or, in the case of when we went to Detroit, I'm not going to name this person, but if anybody knows one of the men former contestants that went, they'll be able to figure it out. Offered up candy bars and like sugary supplements to people in the line
I remember that.
and like trying to sell it.
There's wait. Attached to that is a third person,
Oh, what is this?
the bitter person,
Oh, yeah.
the person who may have not necessarily gained back the weight, but someone who is bitter has gained the weight back. They didn't continue on the lifestyle that they were on.
Yeah.
And they thought, oh, the weight's gone. That means I'm fixed. Wrong.
Okay, there's also then, if you're going to go that route, there's a fourth person.
Okay.
The naive in denial one.
Oh.
Who's gained it back and acts like they haven't gained it back. And then they like try to like talk about fitness or like how you need to change or what you need to do to get on your path. And they've gained like their entirety of their weight back.
Yeah.
Which I'm not trying to be catty. I'm just saying like we've all been there where we lose weight, we gain weight, but like you can't then go and say, hey, let's talk about a workout routine for you because I don't think you're doing the right thing. But anyway, so the whole reason I wanted to jump on this former contestant thing, I actually at Detroit had a former contestant come up to me after I did my interview, and it was the same gentleman. It was actually Chicago where he was selling the candy bars and all that. It was in Detroit. He was at Detroit as well though. And he came up to me and he's like, you should definitely be on the show and all that, just kind of kicking back with me. And he's like, I can't wait. He's like, we can hang out. And he's really cool. He wasn't trying to sell me anything or whatever. But he told me, he's like, you got a girlfriend? And at this point, I did not. He's like, well, don't get one. He's like, don't get married before you get on the show because all these girls are going to be all over your when you get done. That was like the most douchebag thing I'd ever heard. I was like, I didn't know people could say that.
I mean, you're in public, you can't
exactly.
be,
Well, like, and he said it like it was nonchalant, like, oh, if you're with somebody, leave them. Because, like,
I mean,
you're
what
going to
the
get so
hell?
much better when you get on the show.
What the
I was
hell?
like, it made me feel really good that he was, like, so positive I was going to be on the show, which, again, of course, I haven't been, but
Totally worked.
yeah, so, but he's like, oh, yeah, don't get married for the show. So I'm glad I pushed off any wedding plans I would have had, so. I should message him and be like, I could have been married 4 years ago.
WTF question mark.
3 years ago.
You should. I think, are we mutual friends with him?
Probably. He's friends with, like, everybody.
Yeah,
if you know somebody from the big show who has tried to pimp out, I believe, like, an ebook, he had, like, a line of ties, I think, or something.
He had a line of ties.
Yeah.
Like for like naughty time in the bedroom?
I mean, isn't any tie a tie for naughty time in the bedroom?
That's a very good point.
Hold on. He's not one of the more popular ones.
Right.
But,
oh, gee, really? You don't say. Why is that, Josh?
I don't know. He got kicked out of Chicago for selling the stuff.
He got kicked out?
Like they
of the
kicked
whole
him out-
city?
No, like of the casting call.
So is it my turn again?
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, so the last one was like the former contestant.
Yep. The four different parts.
Right, of the former contestant. There's the one who is starting to make a change.
Elaborate.
Okay, so there are people who have lost 10 pounds and are on the right track. And they don't want those people. They want the people that have lost, like 85, 100 pounds. Our mutual friend lost 100 pounds before going on that show.
And had casted like 3 times.
Yeah, she made it to the final round at least twice. There's one other person I met who had just started to change, but they don't take people like that. You know, they see that you're changing and they're saying, oh, well, you've only been doing it for a couple months. You probably won't be able to commit after the show's over, so we're not going to pick you.
Well, and I mean, you could even break that into two categories. Like, you could have the person who's been doing it a couple months, or the person's like, I lost 3 pounds this week. I'm ready to be on the show.
And I've met someone like that, too.
I've met quite a few of them. They're like,
yeah, it's weird. Like, they think... And do you remember our first, during the first audition, there was the gentleman in there that, like...
That lost a bunch of weight?
No.
And then he came back, or?
No. He's a good dude. I really like him. Did you know he just did a bike tour across the United States?
No.
Oh, dude,
I haven't seen anything about him. I just know he lost a ton of weight and then came back.
Yeah, well, we're buddies on Facebook. So do you remember the guy that showed up who you're like, why is he here?
Oh, the really thin black guy sat next to me?
Yes.
Yeah. He was like, that dude was like smaller than anybody I know. Like, that dude should have had a burger that day. His metabolism
eat a damn cheeseburger, son. You know, like, what are you doing here?
He was like, he couldn't have been. I think he was about my height, and I'm 6'2", so he's probably like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
And he was like less than 200 pounds. He was a small dude. I do remember that. I have not thought about that guy.
Yeah, I kind of want to know what he's up to.
I don't know. He might have made it on the show. Maybe he's like the opposite of the people.
Maybe he's the ringer. Maybe that's like they bring him in as like someone who, if no one else is better than him, then they bring him.
You know what I like to think? I've just created this story now, not just like I've thought about this for my whole life. Just now in my mind I've created this. I like to think that day when he was turned down, and hopefully, dear God, hopefully he didn't get a call back, that he went into training and he began to eat every day and like become super obese so that one day he could get picked to be on the show.
Maybe it was.
Yeah, it could have been.
Because like, didn't he show up on an episode of The Big Show?
Yeah, it could have been. Well, and that makes me think, like, because you think about it the other way, like the fattest people that don't get picked,
right?
They're like, oh, I'm gonna use this as fuel to lose all this weight and do all this stuff, and then like he's the opposite, like, oh, I didn't get picked, so I'm gonna use it as fuel to eat everything I can so I get picked. And
like 3 months later, he's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
tried to eat 5 cheeseburgers at the same time,
dude. A quintuple. What is it? A quintuple bypass burger. You ever been out there to Vegas and the Heart Attack Grill?
No.
Dude, fun fact. People who are our size.
Pro tip.
Today's pro tip is brought to you by
the letter B.
The letter B.
Bypass.
Get your big ass off the couch and to the gym. So,
quintuple bypass.
Thank you. God, my ADHD
I got
brain
you.
today,
That's
dude.
why I'm here.
So the quintuple bypass burger is something that comes out of the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. Now, fun fact about the Heart Attack Grill: someone who is our size, because I figure we're about the same weight. I figure the only difference is there's like a 30-pound difference between the two of us.
Probably.
At this point, with all the weight you've lost and with the weight I've gained back, and people who are our size get to eat for free.
Oh man.
Now, this place prides itself on calories. I went there once when I was in Vegas because I wanted to try it. I had just a regular burger. I couldn't finish it. I just felt so sick, like 3 bites in.
That's crazy. Is it like just insanely large, or does it just have like a lot of like fattening stuff on it?
It's disgusting. I mean, it's like
by our sponsor, Heart Attack Grill. It's disgusting.
It's like, most people would think fried food is good, but like picture overly fried food. Okay, to you, isn't that pretty gross? Yeah, it's disgusting. In this case, they take the overly fried food and then they turn it into a burger and fries. And the fries were really good, and I finished those, but the burger itself was like, it was a single patty with huge pieces of cheese, and it was just oozing. It was literally oozing fat and grease, dude. And it was slathered with God knows what.
I want a Baconator now. Well,
see, that's okay, because a Baconator is not going to give you a heart attack if you eat, say, more than one in a sitting. With rules and, We're not saying, we're not asking you social justice warriors to assume that we instantly want people to die and eat 1 million of them. No, just eat one. You know what I'm saying?
Now I need to go to Vegas.
Let's go.
I want to. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Between you and me, I didn't enjoy it because I'm not a fan of like gambling and stuff like that, and everything smelled like chlorine and fish. But the one thing, don't
I
judge
wonder why.
me.
They have a
Gross.
really good aquarium there.
Oh, gross. But the one thing that I did enjoy was the people that I was with, and Vegas is just full of good deals for fat people.
I'm not a huge fan of debauchery, so
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to go.
I don't think I'm a big Las Vegas person. I want to go to Seattle. I'm weird.
Let's go to Seattle.
I want to go to Canada. Let's take the show on the road. Okay, but I want to bring this back.
Yeah, come on, full circle.
Because when I was going off about, you were talking about the person who just started their journey or whatever,
Right.
and I started complaining about that. I actually brought myself to remember the next type of person, which, are we on person 10 now?
I think we're on like person 6 or 7.
I don't know. We're on person a lot. So another type of person is the I am going to lose all my weight because I got denied by this show person.
And do you know how many times those people do
Because
that?
I fit into that category like 3 times. I've been in that category. I was in that category and then gained my weight back and then was like, oh, I'm going to do it again. And I was down like 80 pounds one time, and now I'm still decently down. I'm down like 60 pounds, but, nowhere near what I was.
Right.
Pounds off, not that bad, but still, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the one. I'm gonna be the one who comes back. I'm gonna be the Josh Steele, and I'm gonna lose all my weight and show the world that you can do it without the TV show.
The who?
And then the Josh Steele.
I don't know who that is.
You know who Josh Steele is?
No, bro.
Dude, he's all the Steele Project. He's like super big. Well, he's not like super big on social media, but like in the fat community, he's all over like Twitter and Instagram, because like he went out for the smaller show. I almost said the name.
If you said the name, I don't have a bleeper on this, so you're just gonna have to get sued.
So he was almost on that show, and then he didn't make it, but I think he made it to finals, and then he lost a ton of weight, and they brought him on like somebody's reveal. That might give away what show it is, but they brought him out on somebody's reveal to show that he had lost all this weight. I think it was him and his girlfriend or something. And ever since then, he's got like the Steele Project and all that. I mean, I'm blowing up Josh Steele. What up? Props, Josh Steele. And
we should have him on the show.
He was on Instagram. I actually did a blog on him back when I was big into blogging. I was doing this like Fridays thing, and I did a whole blog on him because he's really cool. He was actually on the Steve Harvey show too about losing weight, and I think he was on Good Morning America.
Really?
And he was on these pretty recently.
Really?
Yeah, he's real cool. He's a chill dude. I've never actually talked to him, but like just on like instant, like media and stuff like that, social media. But he's real chill. He's a cool dude.
That's awesome.
But I wanted to be him. I wanted to be the dude who lost it all without the show, and then was like, just a beast. Could do it on my own. Which
extending a giant middle finger to those who shot you down.
Exactly. And it's not even necessarily to be like, oh, the shows are terrible or anything. It was just to be like, you could do it without the show, because we, as the veterans, because we do fit into that category.
Yeah, we do.
We do tend to tell people you don't need the show. And a lot of former contestants fall into that category. A lot of people fall into this category, which I still strongly believe in, that you can do it without the show. It's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Just because me and you are still fat asses don't mean other people can't
right,
do it.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm not going to put my burger down, but you can. I'll eat it. Like, if that'll help you, give it to me.
Look at that. Then that temptation is gone.
Which, I'm a horrible person. I say the same thing to my vegetarian friends. They're like, well, I will eat all the meat you don't want. I will help you. I'm a horrible, horrible person.
I do that with my vegan friends. They're like, how can you eat meat? And I'm like, because killing vegetables is wrong.
See, okay, and I know we're going to jump off here a little bit, but you said vegan.
Yeah.
I think if I had to, like, I was going to die if I kept eating meat, that I could do a vegetarian diet, because you can still eat cheese and pasta and eggs and whatever.
But let's face it, you will never be in that scenario where you will almost be dying because you're still eating meat.
I would probably die anyway, just because I
could be like, fuck yeah, I don't care.
I think my body runs on bacon. Like, I metabolize bacon as my lifeblood. But seriously, though, for real, hats off to them. I don't know how they do it. how can vegans give up like dairy and eggs and all that
I can
stuff?
tell you
Like,
exactly how they do it.
how?
What they do is they go onto YouTube and they watch sad videos of
That has to be
slaughterhouses.
the only way. That had like brainwashing.
Like, to
Has to
me,
be
I
the only
can't do it. Like, someone would be like, would you try vegan? Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. I tried vegan once for 3 weeks. Do you know what happened?
Got sad.
I died.
Yeah.
I went into full cardiac arrest, and I died. And then a new Josh arose from the ashes after I burst into flame.
Yeah, and those ashes were in a barbecue pit full of meat.
That's like the best dream I could ever have, is like being in an unlit barbecue pit with cooked meat.
Like the closest I get to eating vegetables is a corn dog, let's be honest.
Yeah, I know. And listen to us preaching to people about eating healthy and getting in shape and stuff.
I'm not preaching to people to get healthy and get in shape. If you let's be honest here. If you want to do it, you're going to do it. And we fall in slumps just like everybody else, but we bust our butts too.
We do.
So it's not, you don't need somebody to preach to you. This
Nope.
goes hand in hand with you don't need the show.
Yep.
You don't need somebody to yell at you and tell you you need to do this, you need to do that. Because anybody that's grown enough to know that they should apply for a show to lose weight knows they need to lose weight.
Right. And if you do nothing for it, then whose fault is that?
Exactly. I know I got me where I'm at, and the fact that the only person who's going to get me out of it is me. If
Exactly.
by some chance I win the lucky fat boy lottery and get on a TV show, then, more power to me. But
Right.
the thing is, I'm the only person who's keeping me fat.
Exactly.
And I'll be accountable for me. I'll be accountable, for my family or my close friends. But other than that, I'm not going to go up to people and be like, "Oh, that's horrible what you're doing." Like,
Right.
that's
You
your
can't
decision.
fat shame somebody when you're fat yourself.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you can. I've done it, but like, it's just you
Don't
shouldn't.
Josh, don't be a
Well, and you know what? Like, I try really hard to be super supportive, and I will. I will be if anybody were to ask me, they need to talk about something about losing weight or like that they're struggling, like I'm fine with that. But at the same time, if you then ask for me to do that for you, I will do so in spades.
Because I remember you did it for me.
And we tried to do it for other people.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
No,
Why not?
because you have to do it for yourself.
That's true.
That's
so
why.
before we wrap it up, I think we should tell everybody about how the audition process actually works from the start to the beginning.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. You sound really excited about this, Josh.
Well, it's just like we've jumped over so many different spots.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, we'll get through this together. This has been quite a jumbled podcast, but it needs to be said.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say, if you're still listening, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you are almost
much.
50 minutes deep into this crap. You're still doing it, and we're going to be doing it next week too. We've talked about the audition process. We've talked about people who have shown up, but the one thing we haven't talked about is from start to finish. I'm going to go through with the big show. They herd you into a room, which is called, fittingly enough, a cattle call. You knew that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is what people don't understand. It's called a cattle call, and you're in a room full of fat people. So you get through process one, you go for a callback. You get through the first callback, you do like a phone interview, and then so on and so forth. The one thing you need to remember when you audition for this show is to put zero stock into getting onto it. Because the moment you put any sort of positive feeling into getting onto this show, and you don't get it, you are going to be so crushed, it's going to destroy you. And you cannot afford to do that to yourself, especially if you're trying to lose weight.
I think the way that the shows are up, the way you explained it there is very concise. In between each one of those steps is the main component of any audition process,
Waiting.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you may have to wait. I mean, one of my callbacks, I literally hadn't even made it on the highway yet from leaving. Got a callback.
Yeah.
Another one wasn't until 10 o'clock that night, and I auditioned at 1 o'clock. That's
Mm-hmm.
9 hours that you're just sitting there like, oh my God, are they going to call?
Mm-hmm.
And I've also had those same times you audition at 8 in the morning and they don't call. And they
Right.
announce it at 10 at night, and you've waited that whole day, dripping sweat, stomach in knots. But that's just the first step.
Yeah.
Is getting that callback. Once you get the callback, it's all about the waiting game.
Yeah, and
You
at
can
that point,
wait weeks at a time.
yeah, and you just need to understand that that's what's going to happen. And whether they pick you or whether or not they pick you, Josh and I both know that you can lose the weight.
Oh yeah.
You can do this. It's going to be a step-by-step process. Yeah, it's going to suck at first. It really is. But we're here for you. Josh, if they want to find you on Twitter, what's your handle?
It is at JBReclaim.
And for me, it's at JoshJX on air, which is a little bit more complicated, but that's okay. Anyway, I think we've covered everything we'd want to cover tonight, right? Is there anything we missed?
No, and if there is, we'll remember it some other time.
Yeah, we will. Anyway, I'm Josh.
And I'm Josh.
And this has been the Joshes. We'll see you soon.